All right, showtime. You ready?
Born ready.
Great. Did you bring the dongle?
What's a dongle?
Never mind. We'll just show them on your laptop.
I was supposed to bring my laptop?
Don't panic. You shared the presentation with me, right?
I forgot.
Well, if you log in, then we can...
My password. I was about to say I forgot my password.
You ordered the food through EasyCater, right?
Yes?
We'll be fine.
Food can make or break a presentation, so make sure you order at EasyCater.com. Individually packaged food delivered right on time. How? EasyCater.
Small business owners know cutting costs without cutting quality is tough. How do you trim expenses without hurting your business? Easy. Get Spectrum Business. Call 888-489-2212. Switch to Spectrum Business and you can get the best internet and phone services for half of what you're paying today. Cutting costs can be easy when you get Spectrum Business. Just call 888-489-2212. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
I haven't met with Buffalo yet, but I'm meeting with them on Thursday. And then I think just for pro hockey, continue to develop my game, continue to get stronger, faster, quicker, and then just keep developing the areas of my game that I think need work on and continue growing the areas that I'm already good at.
That is presumptive number one overall pick, Owen Power. We should call him that. Presumptive number one overall pick, Owen Power. So, Brayton, there was a conference call yesterday with a number of the top prospects, and the general idea for most of them was they're not going to be in the NHL next year. Right? William Eklund said that too. Back in Sweden probably for another year.
Yeah.
Matthew Beniers said Michigan another year. Power has said he doesn't know yet. You know, there's one thing to not presume you're going to be in the NHL.
Yeah.
It's another for this draft class seems to have an idea that I need more time.
Yeah, and I think it's been talked about quite a bit with some of these draft guys that we've been able to talk with. I know that Ryan Wagman said it on Friday when speaking with you guys, and I think Will Scouch also said it when speaking with me on Friday, filling in for the Inskaters, that pretty much with this entire draft class, it's almost best that everyone goes back and gets another year just because of how everything played out with the pandemic and how none of those players that are coming out this year really dominated at their level heading into their draft year.
Yep. 803-0550. We'll get some Sabres talk in here. We're joined on the Wester hotline by Chad DeDominicis, who covers the Sabres for a number of outlets, including Expected Buffalo, expectedbuffalo.com. Chad, good morning. Jeremy and Brayton, thanks for taking some time to join us this morning.
Not a problem. Good morning, fellas.
So where do we start, Chad? I mean, you've done some work on Don Granato. We can talk about trade rumors. We can talk about the draft. I mean, you're covering all aspects of the Sabres with expectedbuffalo.com, and it feels like it's an off season that hasn't really started yet. And I guess for Sabres fans, one of the things I'll speak for myself here. One of the things I go through is once I can separate the frustration, the anger, the whatever about how they got to this point, it does present as an offseason with the opportunity to really, to turn their fortunes into, if you score well in these trades and develop these players, and you've got a coach that looks like he's fit for the young group, it's a new era that they are starting, and they don't have to get everything wrong. They've done a couple things, I think, right along the way here, one with the coach and then with the hiring of Sam Ventura.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's right on the money. You go back a few months, and the whole Eichel Reinhart, Ristolainen interview day happened. It was a frustrating and dark day for the organization. But now we're a couple months past it. I think most people have kind of accepted the fate or what's going to happen here over the next month or so with this team. So, yeah, the outlook's exciting. Getting new players is exciting. Getting new trades is exciting. Especially when, a trade of the size of Jack Eichel is something you rarely see in the NHL. I mean, these are like NBA trades that happen every year when the big stars move around, but, we don't see something like this in the NHL. And it's not just Eichel this year, too. It's Seth Jones and Gaudreau could be traded and some other guys. So overall, it has the potential to be a fun, exciting summer. But for the Sabres, it's an opportunity to reset. It looks like Kevin Adams has pretty much his front office he wants in place now. With him, Karmanos, and Sam Ventura. So, yeah, like I said, they don't have to get this wrong. They've made some nice front office moves, and it doesn't hurt having smart people in there. And, now he actually has people of experience around him, or that wasn't the case last year. So, I think when you accumulate all of that, there's a lot to look forward to of what this summer could be.
We might be waiting a little bit for trades just because of the expansion draft looming and the actual draft itself as well. When you're talking about trading high draft picks, some of these teams might be willing to trade the 3rd overall pick if a certain player is gone, or the 5th pick if a certain player is gone. On the Eichel stuff and on the potential for that trade, they don't have to do terrible means they still might lose the deal, but to lose it not that badly might even feel like they did okay. You tweeted over the weekend maybe Colorado in on this. Vegas entered as a team. It's interesting to me the difference in all the teams that could be interested in him. Of course, Anaheim. To me, Anaheim doesn't make a lot of sense if they're going to trade away their best prospects, because then they would just be the Sabres. Hey, here's Jack Eichel, a great player with not a lot of help. Meanwhile, if you're Vegas, if you're Colorado, you are already a good to great team, and you'd be spinning some of your depth off and saying, let's try to get to the next level. It'd be a gamble, of course, but, I think it's most definitely a worthy one for either of them.
Yeah, for sure. Anaheim, I think they're a team. I agree. It doesn't make a lot of sense logistically that they should pull that off. But I also think they're a team that's also not going to include Zegras or Drysdale in that deal. So I think 3rd overall would be the main piece they would send over, and maybe that's kind of one of the sticking points right now between the two, where we kind of have a standoff going between the Sabres and other teams around the league. And then Colorado, they're a team that, from what I was told, is kind of, I guess you could say, involved to an extent, but they have some of their own house cleaning to do. But if they can get some things done here quickly and kind of set up what's going to happen with Makar, what's going to do with Landeskog, they can get that done quickly and figure out what their cap structure looks like. And if you look at that team, most of the contracts come off the books in 2 to 3 years, and they can kind of reevaluate their cap at that point. So, they're in it to an extent, and if they can get some things done here quickly, I think they can get more involved in it, depending on the timeline of the trade itself. And then Vegas is interesting, too, because, we're seeing it now for, I don't know, it's the 2nd, 3rd year in a row that they in a sense, they underwhelm and, lose. They lost to Dallas last 2 years ago, and then this year to Montreal, and they kind of just lack that true elite first-line center. Now, it gets difficult for them to maybe get a trade together in a sense. They'd have to probably include Peyton Krebs, Cody Glass. I'm sure there had to be a cap dump of some kind in there to make it work with their salary cap structure. But then the Sabres have to decide, well, what's the difference between taking the 29th overall pick, or even from Colorado, the mid-20s, late 20s pick, versus 3rd overall or top 5 pick, or 8th overall, let's say, from Los Angeles. So I think that's kind of where it gets into, what's more important. Can they increase the prospects so the draft pick doesn't matter, or is this a draft where they talked about they really are interested in these players in this draft, so they want that high pick so they can get certain players they're targeting? And I think that's a lot of the discussion going on right now. But, it seemed like there was a lot of steam going here, and that I kind of thought maybe this would have been done by now, but we appear to be at a standoff here between the teams and the Sabres, and just you're getting that vibe, a lot of, well, the price is high, and, that kind of thing. So we'll see what happens here.
Speaking with Chad DeDominicis on the Western Hotline, I wonder about the idea of a standoff, what that possibly could be, and, you might know this better than I do, that they have an offer on the table that they like but don't love. You're kind of like a leader in the clubhouse, and they're kind of waiting to see if anybody else is prepared to beat it, and maybe there's a deadline of post-expansion draft because, you won't know who's where and who shuffles around. And there was a story from Nashville. The Victor Arvidsson trade was a trade to not lose him in the expansion draft. That's why Nashville trades him to L.A. was to get a couple of picks out of that. So do you think the Sabres have a deal that is the leader in the clubhouse, and they're just kind of waiting to see if they can do any better?
From information I've had about, I've always had Anaheim as a team in front. And I've heard nothing different that really changes that. I wouldn't say they have a deal on the table that they love. I think this could be a situation where, the Sabres themselves, their clock, in a sense, is probably next year when that no-movement clause kicks in. And, for teams like Los Angeles and the Rangers, they can wait the Sabres out because they'll be on Eichel's no-move list when that comes. But a team like Anaheim, it's a little bit different because Eichel probably doesn't waive to go to Anaheim. So now they're in a sense where the Sabres here can be trying to squeeze them out. Maybe they're not including Zegras, or they're not including some other prospect they really want. And, Adams is like, okay, we'll wait this out. We're fine. We'll hang on to him until October and then, see how things go here over the next couple of weeks in Anaheim or even some other teams like that are interested but really wouldn't be on Eichel's no move list. And, as that clock goes here, you get some more pressure. Okay, we'll do it. Fine, we'll give you this guy type thing. So I think it's a mix of waiting teams out to kind of squeeze a little bit more out of it. And at the same time, there's other teams that are doing the same to the Sabres, trying to hold them out and saying, okay, let's see if we really want to keep them. Let's see if we really want that draft pick. And, I guess we'll find out in the next couple of weeks who wins here.
Chad DeDominicis of ExpectedBuffalo.com covering the Sabres. All right, so Don Granato, a hiring we probably expected for quite some time. Leader in the clubhouse, got the job. I got to stop using leader in the clubhouse. Too many golf analogies. I apologize. But he was the favorite to get the job. He does get the job, and I don't think it happens all that often that an interim coach, whatever market you might be in, could be as popular a move as Granato seems to be. It seems to me that Sabres fans are happy about it because of the way that, if it's the way that he talked about the team, the way his words match his actions, things went relatively well. So let's start there with what went well for Granato and why the move is the right move to coach the youth of this team that's already here and some that's probably on the way.
Yeah, I think we saw it in the last, 27-ish games. I think he ended up coaching, almost all the players. Rasmus Hasselin, Casey Middlestat, Henry Jokiharju, Rasmus Dahlin, Tage Thompson. All those guys, got the opportunity to play Dylan Cousins, play in more, big minutes than they were getting under Kruger. I remember Cousins playing against Crosby and then Granato talking about it. We're like, yeah, we figured he'd probably struggle at some points, but we wanted to throw him out there, get him a look at it, and see how that went. And the same thing with Dahlin. He put him out there against the other team's top line. There were some rough times, but, he and Jokiharju held his own for the most part. So, a guy who understands, especially with the direction this team is going, this seems like the perfect coach for right now. You could sit here and say, is he going to be the coach when they make the playoffs? I don't know. But I think he's the perfect coach to kind of understand the importance of development. He's shown a willingness to put, younger players in position and believe in them and trust in them, and that goes a long way with the guys in that room. So you heard a lot of those younger guys, come out and say how much they like playing under him. And then the other part of it, too, is, he likes to play that offensive system, which I think a lot of fans like hearing from, the Kruger days of that low-event hockey. And I think we saw a different type of team under Granato. Their on-the-rush chances improved. They were a faster team. They didn't win a lot of games still, but they were more difficult to play against, and they were in a lot of games, a lot of higher-scoring games. So, they'll need to clean up some areas defensively, and I can see that. I can give that a pass. There's not a lot of practices last year. He wanted to focus on offense to get that going, but they got to clean up some stuff defensively, and they really got to figure out what to do in goal because it doesn't really matter what you do. It doesn't matter who's back, whether Eichel and Reinhart are back or they're both gone. If you don't have a goalie, this team isn't going to go anywhere.
On that in a minute. With Granato, I say that we've got to focus on, not lamenting what happened, but moving forward. Would he have been a good coach 2 years ago for this team? Like to play an offensive style with Dahlin and Montour and some of these players that never seemed to fit the style that Kruger wanted to play. They had the speed of Hall and Skinner and Eichel. And, I'm tempted to even go back to Dan Bilesma. Like it seems like Granato playing the style that Granato wants to play would have been more welcome with the players they had even 2 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. You look back on every single coach for the last few years, and none of them really had a roster that fit their system. You go back to Bilesma. He liked that stress pass system, but he didn't have the defenseman that could do that. And then you go back to Kruger. He liked to play defensive style, but it doesn't really mesh when you have guys like Hall and Eichel and those guys like to skate and go, and your defense group really isn't that strong either. So, I think Granato would have been a better fit, sure, in that system, and I think it's kind of, unfortunate that we'll never really get to see Eichel play in that Granato system to see how that would have went. But at the same time, I don't know how well it would have went either because that really wasn't a team looking at a developmental standpoint. They had some older players, and they were really trying to push for the playoffs, where this is kind of a different outlook going in the next season and relying more on those youth and the younger players to kind of drive this team to the new core of this team. So, in theory, I think the offense would have been good, but I think really where it is right now, where this team is headed, that he's a perfect fit for that situation.
Jetty Deminis is joining us. So, all right, special teams. That you wrote a piece about this, that it's one of the areas that things did not go particularly well for Granato.
Yeah, so that, it's hard because at the same time, as I mentioned before, you kind of have to understand there wasn't a lot of practice time. So you have to think about that and understand that when you're looking at the analysis. But, yeah, I mean, overall, the penalty kill was, worse than it was under Kruger. They give up the most unblocked shot attempts and highest quality shot attempts against on the penalty kill. And then the power play, there wasn't much there. They just didn't generate a lot of offense. Their cross-ice passing, which is the best way to get quality scoring chances, went down from 11% to 4% in Corey's tracking data. So, there was a lot there. They really struggled entering the zone. That went down significantly. And that's kind of understandable when you lose Taylor Hall and you lose Jack Eichel. You expect that, but still, it went down significantly. So, I think those are two areas they need to work on, and it'll be interesting what they do with the assistant coaches. And I would anticipate Matt Ellis is back as one of them, and then the other one is what happens with Dan Girardi. So, if both of those coaches are back, it'll be interesting to see who takes what role and what they change with some more practice time. But, yeah, those are definitely two areas we have to watch because, those are two important areas in today's game. The 5-on-5 game is where most of it's played, but if your special teams are poor in both areas, then you're going to have a rough time doing anything.
One person that might have some role in how they approach that would be Sam Ventura, who's got a title that includes hockey strategy. So, for a guy that was with the Pittsburgh Penguins and in charge of analytics for them, what does a person like this do inside an organization? I mean, the Sabres had, is a skeleton crew going too far to say what they had in those kind of positions? And now they have somebody, it appears, that will kind of run things from a hockey strategy standpoint when crunching numbers.
Yeah, I mean, this is really the best. Sam is probably one of the top 5, I would say, easily analytics people in the league right now. So, that's a great hire. They were able to pull him away, and it kind of really gives you the idea that Adams kind of did a full evaluation here where he wanted to lean on the analytics. He gave Nightingale more experience last year, and then after reviewing that, kind of brought in Karmanos, which he did, set up the analytics department in Carolina, and then again in Pittsburgh, and then Karmanos brings Ventura in here, who is a very smart guy. From a lot of people I've talked to, are very excited for what that means for the Sabres. So it's good to see that they're going to start to use that information, and it's also not some sort of window dressing here thing. You don't bring in Sam Ventura to say, oh, look, we got an analytics guy now. He's going to be involved in decisions, and, that's good. Doesn't mean that it has to work, but I think at the very least, if they're going to go more to a, data-driven approach analysis of what they want to do with their roster, it's something different, and that's what we've all been clamoring for. Just try something different, and this appears what they're going to do. They're going to lie more of the numbers with their scouting, their drafting, the free agency, and the roster structure, and we'll see, how Granato utilizes that on the ice too. So, yeah, it's very exciting. I was maybe the most excited I've been about a Sabres move in a while, and I found out they pulled that off. So I think fans are really excited about that too from a front office standpoint.
So all of them together, to get back to one other thing you mentioned before we close out here. So who decides who's going to play in goal? And what's the best idea? Allmark returning, a free agent, a trade, a bridge to Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. It seems like they're kind of in a spot that they were pre-Allmark when they wanted to get Carter Hutton to be the bridge to Allmark. And here's Allmark, who's pretty good. So what's the plan in goal?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, they've been out looking for goaltenders for about a year now. I know that Kevin Adams really likes Merzlikins in Columbus. I know that he's asked about John Gibson a few times. We'll see if maybe they can somehow pull it out of Anaheim. I think that would be surprising, but you never know. So, and they've checked in some other guys. With Boston, they tried to get one of those goaltenders out in the Taylor Hall trade. That didn't work either. So, they've been trying to improve in goal for a while now. I don't know what's going to happen. My sense on Allmark as the days goes by here that he might not be back, and then you got to get 2 goaltenders. But even if you get him back, you still got to get another one. So, the free agent market isn't great. You can look at a guy like Antti Ranta, but again, he's a good goaltender when he's healthy, but he's injured a lot. The trade market, I would anticipate in one of these big trades, whether it be Reinhart, Eichel, or even Ristolainen, that they get a goaltender back, whether that be a cap dump in some scenario with just a young goaltender as part of the package. So I think that'll answer one of the questions, and then they'll probably, depending what happens with Allmark, dip their toe in a free agency and see what happens there. But if I was them, one of the ideas, throw it out there, if you're really not planning going anywhere this year, I would call a team like Edmonton and see how much it would take, to take Mikko Koskinen off their hands. What can you get? What asset? Can I get a third or fourth round pick for doing that? So maybe that's the situation for 1 year. You just go get a goaltender, somebody who's overpaid, get him off somebody else's roster, get an asset for it. And like you said, kind of a bridge to Luukkonen, because then maybe you can get him in some games the second half of this season, and then going into next season, he can be a full-time NHL goaltender.
You referenced Ristolainen being traded. Is that actually going to happen?
I think so. I know the reports out there that, from Dreger yesterday that, he thinks they want to hold on to him. I don't know how that makes any sense. I mean, he has 1 year left on his contract. That guy is not re-signing with you, absolutely under no circumstance. So I just think they realize that and eventually get to a trade. But I think that's also kind of we'll just hang on to him thing, Lee. But really, I think he'll end up going to.
I guess we'll see. Well, thanks for the time, of course, Chad, as always. And great work you guys are doing at expectedbuffalo.com. You've got a staff over there with Anthony and Eddie as well, just helping people not just talk Sabres and learn about the analytics. I know you've got Eddie's running the stuff about how to learn about it all. It's great stuff. So keep up the good work and all the best.
All right, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Chad DiDomenicis of expectedbuffalo.com, a really cool site that does a lot with the Sabres. And again, like the fancy stats, if you're like me, you might like them, but want the easiest possible explanation of them and application of them. That's expectedbuffalo.com. 803-0550 to join us, 1-888-550-2550. When we return, little NBA talk. We're going to talk to Odyssey NBA insider Jimmy Patsos, brought to you by Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. The Suns take Game 1. This year's NBA Finals, very different from the last, I want to say, 20. We'll get into that a little bit with our Odyssey NBA insider on the other side. If you want to toss a phone call our way, toss a thought, you're more than welcome. We're happy to have you. 803-0550 to join us here on WGR.
Why is there a harbor seal walking around the office?
Oh, that's our new CEO.
Come again?
Well, apparently they didn't order through EasyCater for the board meeting, and when the food didn't arrive, they kind of lost focus. Next thing you know,
We have a seal as our CEO. Did I say something wrong?
no, she just wants a mackerel. Here you go.
Bad ideas happen when there's no food for the meeting. So make sure it's on time and as ordered from more than 80,000 restaurants. Now, EasyCater.
Thank you. I just got promoted.
Order 24/7 on EasyCater.com.
Small business owners know cutting costs without cutting quality is tough. How do you trim expenses without hurting your business? Easy. Get Spectrum Business. Call 888-489-2212. Switch to Spectrum Business and you can get the best internet and phone services for half of what you're paying today. Cutting costs can be easy when you get Spectrum Business. Just call 888-489-2212. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
At Jewelers Mutual, we're a little obsessed with jewelry. Obsessed like auctioneers with talking fast.
50, we're going to
pop stars with auto-tune. And dentists with asking questions.
So, how did he propose?
After they've put their hands in your mouth.
Great.
Yes, we've made jewelry our obsession for over 100 years. We love it so much we named our kids Ruby, Amber, and Opal.
Venti soy latte for Opal?
At Jewelers Mutual, we insure jewelry and only jewelry, which is why people who are also obsessed with jewelry trust us with theirs.
All right, scheduled to talk to Jimmy Patsos, Odyssey NBA insider, in a moment here, so stay tuned for that. He's on Twitter at Coach Patsos. This NBA Finals, watching last night, it is different. We just went through an era of, not that it's over, but super teams. The Warriors were the super team, and each and every year, LeBron starts the super team era, and these teams, I don't think they've ever been accused of being super teams. They went out and, of course, added pieces. And for the Suns, adding an aging Chris Paul, who's in the twilight of his career, but, of course, still playing great. I don't think anybody accused them of being a super team. I read a good breakdown of Defector on Defector.com of the Suns and kind of what they represent, because they had a number of seasons where they could have just decided to tear it down and start again, trade your good players, build back up. Instead, they got bold. They kind of went for it. They made the Chris Paul trade, and here they are kind of having this, not quite lightning in a bottle season, but the Suns, here are their finishes the last however many years before this, as they are now 3 games away from winning a title. Going back to 2010, finish in the Western Conference, 10th, 10th, 15th, 9th, 10th, 14th, 15th, 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 10th. And then this year, number 2, and 3 games away from the title. So, quite a story for them. The Bucks, meanwhile, have been, obviously, the last couple seasons much better, knocking on the door, trying to get through the East. And, you've got Bucks and Suns for the final, where the Suns have never won a title, and for the Bucks, it's been 50 years. So, one thing about it that's, you can debate all day long about, are dynasties good, are dynasties bad? The Warriors and the Cavs were, people got tired of that, I'm sure, but it was compelling. And it'll be interesting to see if the ratings for this one with 2, again, they're not unknowns, but by comparison to the Warriors, in comparison to a LeBron team, last year's finals notwithstanding, I mean, that's like in the bubble kind of deal. It'll be interesting to see if the ratings for this are higher or lower, if there's the fresh face feel. I mean, you've got star power, a little bit of it, not as much as you normally do in the NBA Finals. I mean, the last however many of them have involved some version of a LeBron James team, and for him to not be a part of it feels weird. This is, granted it's July, and the finals don't often go into July, but the NBA Finals have belonged, an entire era have belonged to LeBron James as the central figure, whether he's with the Cavs or the Heat or back with the Cavs. He's been the central figure in the NBA for quite some time, and this year that's definitely not the case. You've had an incredible number of injuries. It was going to be a year where you had a new guard kind of coming in. If the Sixers don't collapse against the Hawks, maybe it's them. If the Hawks get by the Bucks, maybe it's them. In the Western Conference, Utah got taken out. Injuries have been a big factor in this year's playoffs as well. Whether it's teams that survived the injury issue, teams that got knocked out by injuries. It's definitely like the Lakers were in. They were, 7 seed, and they lost to the Suns in the first round. So it's not like LeBron was not anywhere to be seen, but it was going to be a new kind of, again, not changing of the guard. I don't think the Suns win. We think that they're some sort of dynasty. I mean, they had a great season, and Chris Paul's finish to his career, if it ends like this with a championship, it's just an incredible story for him to finish this way. And Giannis, the narrative about getting over the hump. I saw Sneaky Joe had a tweet last night that I thought was a really good point about championships in basketball mean more for the narrative of a player than they do in any other sport. I mean, quarterbacks in football is close, but in basketball, you're one of 5 guys on the court, and it's just so clear that if you win, you're a made man, and your record in the finals, LeBron's record in the finals versus Jordan in the finals, your legacy is entirely made by if you win championships or not. And if that's the Warriors, if that's Durant who won it with the Warriors and then went on to Brooklyn and they got knocked out as well this year, it's why the super teams started to get built, is because these players started to realize, and they've even vocalized this, if I'm only going to get judged on championships, I should be going to hunt championships if I want to be the greatest. Why would I languish in mediocrity? I should be out there trying to do anything I can to win a championship, and then I'll be thought of that way. The problem is along the way, that's kind of a little bit, I think people decided that's seeing how the sausage is made. And Durant, who of course is an all-time great, is viewed in a negative light by some as a ring chaser. The kind of thing that, I don't know, I feel like ring chasing is good. Why would anybody want to have to do it all themselves? You should want and demand the best from your team, your teammates, and if you feel like you're not getting it, you should go someplace you think you might, whether that's an organizational change or, a trade because your teammates. I mean, I get that the super team idea and the level of control that athletes in the NBA have it's for some people they don't like it. It has never bothered me. I shouldn't say never. Maybe when LeBron did it, I thought it was lame and rooted against them. It didn't last long. Pretty soon I was rooting for the Heat to win it with LeBron and Dwayne Wade. Like, they were great. They were fun. They were good to watch. And it'll be interesting to see where the NBA goes from here because, again, neither of these teams would ever, I don't think, be considered or be under any threat of being called a super team. And maybe we look back in 10 years after another 10-year run of some version of super teams, and like there's the little thing in the list of championships for the NBA, like, boom, there's the Suns, like Wikipedia's Suns. Yeah, remember that? They were terrible for a decade, then they won the championship. And just out of nowhere, they gave it another run. It's a little bit like, right, was it 2 years ago the Blue Jackets made a bunch of trades and kind of went for it, even though they were not a great team? I think they traded away their first, second, and third round pick, which you would say is not smart to do.
Not really, no.
No, it's not smart, and I totally respect building through the draft and wanting to hold on to assets and build that way, but the Blue Jackets had that one deadline where they pushed it all to the middle and be like, we're going to try and win this thing. They might have traded for, was it Mark Stone?
No, they didn't trade for
Matt Duchene. Thank you.
It was
Matt
the year
Duchene.
they beat the Lightning in the first round, swept them, surprisingly, and then they lost to Boston, I think, in 6 games the next round.
Yeah, the other Ottawa player, Matt Duchene, they traded for him. And, yeah, well, let's go for this. Let's try to do something. And while they, gave up a bunch of draft picks, they won their first ever playoff series and, showed their fans they were trying. So I know we've talked about how to build and tanking and being young. And every once in a while, it's nice to see a team say, well, let's try to be great at this, even if it's a little bit of a gamble. It feels like everybody's figured out the draft pick formula for the future to try and build that way. But, if you're the Suns here, you could look at it one of two ways. I mentioned earlier there's a piece at defector.com about this, that you could look at one of two ways for the Suns, that they decided, no, let's try to be great. Let's go get this player and see if this works. And it all falls into place and works. You could celebrate that. Or you could kind of look at it as, well, a decade of mismanagement, and they finally, this is like the sun shines on a squirrel's, what's the thing? Why can't I think of the sun shines on a dog's butt kind of thing? Blind squirrel finds a nut. Holy cow, mix them together. Yeah, blind squirrel finds a nut. Anyway, you can look at it one of two ways, I guess, for the Suns. But 3 games away from winning it, hanging a banner, and banners are forever. Dan tweets in, regarding super teams, do you think you'd feel different if it happened in a sport that Buffalo competed in? I think because the NBA isn't very relevant here, from a passion standpoint, it skews our feeling. Like, I'd be against it, a super team? I don't know. I mean, free agency and no movement clauses and all that stuff, you don't quite have super teams in hockey, but good teams have an advantage when it comes to getting players. I mean, there's a reason Taylor Hall wanted to go to Boston. There's a reason Sidney Crosby, for however many years, had guys waiving no movement clauses to go there. There's a reason that Toronto can get players to play for very cheap to come be a part of the Leafs. I mean, I don't think you'd call any of them super teams. The NHL, for whatever reason, there's plenty of NHL GMs that wouldn't want a super team. They would think they were too skilled. No, it's too much skill. We need more of this other stuff, more sandpaper. And, there's value to what those players do. It's more valuable if they also do it with skill and put in goals. I don't know, is Tampa a super team? They go back-to-back cups, and their playoff record has been tremendous. The years they haven't won the cup, they either lost in the finals or the conference finals in 7 games. I mean, you can only do so much. So I feel like super team, the reason it's talked about in the NBA is because if you get 3 incredible players, well, 60% of your starting lineup, even 4 players, it's just, you get 4 super players in the NHL. Is that a super team? And it's just. I think it's different that way. I don't think it's the market size or anything like that, or that we don't have an NBA team. 803-0550, 1-888-550-2550. We'll try again some other day with Coach Patsos on the Odyssey NBA Insider. 803-0550. Marty Braun's going to join me top of the hour, and we'll talk with Marty. So stay tuned for that. 838-0550 to join us. Jeremy White and Brayton Wilson producing here on WGR.
At Jewelers Mutual, we're a little obsessed with jewelry. Obsessed like auctioneers with talking fast.
50, we're going to 50.
Pop stars with auto-tune. And dentists with asking questions.
So, how did he propose?
After they've put their hands in your mouth.
Great.
Yes, we've made jewelry our obsession for over 100 years. We love it so much we named our kids Ruby, Amber, and Opal.
Venti soy latte for Opal?
At Jewelers Mutual, we insure jewelry and only jewelry, which is why people who are also obsessed with jewelry trust us with theirs.
It is Hoagie Hump Day. Tweet us at WGR550 and use the hashtag Hoagie Hump Day. You are entered to win $25 gift card from Jim's Steakout. It's Hump Day. You want a hoagie? Participate in Hoagie Hump Day. And that's that. So tweet us at WGR550. Tweet hashtag Hoagie Hump Day. Time to get connected with our fans. I've got a couple of tweets here from Doug. We get connected with our fans, brought to you by Bond, Shenick & King, a full-service Buffalo law firm. Doug asked me about golf attire, and I would just like to say that this means a lot to me to have been asked. He tweeted me this morning, or last night, golf attire for tomorrow. Bold, slightly risky, or look like your average golfer was a question. And Brayton, have you ever made a decision in your life to just, they say fake it till you make it, or this is kind of like dress for the job you want. People will say that sometimes, like dress for the job you want. And if you dress nicer, someone will hire you for a job that dresses that way. Anyway, I've just decided that I'm going to be a very amateur, free, unpaid golf designer, clother, wearer, evaluator. That's what I'm going with.
Interesting move.
Well, I watch these golf events, and I play as much golf as I can, with two young children and a wife that lets me play golf a lot, which is wonderful because, I love to golf. And I have an extensive golf wardrobe. I want to look good when I'm out there. It matters to me what these guys are dressing like. And I watch these guys on tour and think, who dresses them? How about a little style? How about a little flavor? More than just Ricky Fowler wearing orange. Like, can we get anybody out there not wearing just blue and white and gray? So I turned on the match yesterday, and Brady's okay. It's a red hat. It's a TB12 hat. You get negative points for the TB12 hat. TB12 is still the worst logo you've ever seen. But, he went for the bomb pop look, which I can respect the bomb pop look. I wore the bomb pop look at the 100 holes of golf. What's a bomb pop? It's a little blue, a little white, a little red. You could say that's American flag. Depending on the color scheme and how you're doing it, it also looks like a bomb pop. I like it. Aaron Rodgers wearing black shirt, black pants, or black shirt, black shorts, and black belt. Buddy, just wear a romper. You're not going to put anything between the shirt and the belt. No accent, no gray, no white, no bright color. Give us something, some sort of accent. He's also wearing black shoes with white soles. He shows up in all black. At least he had a white hat on. I'm thinking, looks like it was 80 degrees there. Are you the Undertaker? Like you coming out to announce that the other team's going to their doom? Phil was wearing navy blue on navy blue. All right. And Bryson's shirt was good. Bryson had a good shirt. Bryson looked okay. He's generally kind of a boring guy when it comes to the fashion. I don't mind his hat. It's always the same navy or white hat. These guys, you're pros. Come on, can we get a little better? So anyway, Doug tweeted me and asked, should I go bold? Should I go? I would say do whatever you want. This is, it's your style. You want to look ridiculous? That's fine. I think that's actually pretty good, So there you go. That's connecting with our fans. I'd advised him what to wear. If I play this right, Brayton, if I play this right, I think I can get people to this is my evolution from Dr. Jersey. When I used to be like, oh, you can't wear that jersey to this, you can't put this name on that. I'm past that now. I'm older. Now I want to just evaluate golf get-ups. Show me your setup. We got people that love to look at Sabres goalie or any goalie in the NHL, their setups, their pads, their mask, their how's the setup look? Yeah. That's me, but with golf attire.
I see how this is going to play out. It's eventually going to lead to, I, Jeremy White, hereby announce my retirement from radio. Signed, Jeremy.
Hey, I mean, if I could just be the golf fashion blogger, I'm not sure that there's a lot of I don't know if I can pay the mortgage with that. But anyway, I think I can just claim to do it, and then I just get to do it. Like John Rahm, when he won the PGA Championship, rock solid outfit. I ranked him number 1. Had a nice color scheme going on because it wasn't neutral colors like everybody on tour wears neutral colors. The next championship is going to be the Open Championship, the British Open. I mean, it'll just be nothing but white and navy blue. Come on, guys. Just because it looks like it's miserable there doesn't mean you have to dress so boring. There you go. There's my speech. Thank you to Doug for writing it. I'm connecting with fans. I wore white shorts the other day for the first time ever. Because I hadn't had white shorts.
I don't own a pair of white shorts.
Oh, man, let me tell you. It was good. White shorts.
I don't think I could pull off the white shorts look, though.
No?
No, not even close.
Well, that's the thing about the fashion world. If you think you can't pull it off, you're right. Isn't this the same? That's my motivational speech, right? If you think you can't, you're right. People say that when you think you can't do something. Sponsors dictate, Jeff Meadis from Tee to Green, sponsors dictate the outfits for the players. Oh, get a new contract. The guy's wearing a Nike. I'm Brooks Koepka. Tommy Fleetwood's wearing the same thing as me? What are you, crazy? I wouldn't be caught dead wearing the same thing as another guy. We're going to wear the same shirts? I feel like that happened once this year. I'm a sponsor. I'm wearing your stuff. Great. I'd love to wear your stuff. How about some good stuff? Time to flare up the tour a little bit, you know? There's my mission statement as the new golf I need to tighten up this term. I need my own branding on it.
We need to bring back the old style golf attire to the PGA.
You want to go old style?
Yes. With the stockings and the
no.
Yes.
We live in this is the part of it that drives me nuts. The golden age. Golf clothing has never been better. And you would never know it if you watch the tour. You go play 18 this weekend at any course in the area, and I'm telling you, we're all dressed to the nines. We're looking good. And I look, turn on the real golf. What are they doing? We should be selling shirts to these guys. All right, I'll stop. Marty Baron on the other side. We'll talk a little Stanley Cup Finals, some Sabres, and I want to get his thoughts on Jay McKee. Jay McKee named head coach of the Hamilton Bulldogs. So I feel like the obvious question is like, did you always see McKee as a future head coach? And I'm just waiting for one player to be like, actually, never. I never would have thought it. Of course, now he's going to be great, but at the time, never. So we'll talk to Marty about that. Marty Braun joins me other side here on WGR.
How do you order food for the office these days? How do you make sure it's on time and as ordered? How can you get it individually packaged? How? Easy Cater. When you order on EasyCater.com, the food comes as ordered and on time 98% of the time. And when there's a problem, which is practically never,
Thank you for calling Easy Cater.
you can reach someone in about 9 seconds. How do you order 24/7 from more than 80,000 restaurants? How? Easy Cater. Order 24/7 on EasyCater.com.
Small business owners know cutting costs without cutting quality is tough. How do you trim expenses without hurting your business? Easy. Get Spectrum Business. Call 888-489-2212. Switch to Spectrum Business and you can get the best internet and phone services for half of what you're paying today. Cutting costs can be easy when you get Spectrum Business. Just call 888-489-2212. Restrictions apply. Call for details.